Let's unpack the latest developments with Ramzy Baroud, who is live from Seattle. He is a senior research fellow at the Centre for Islam and Global Affairs of the Istanbul Zaim University. Ramzy, thanks so much for being with us. What did you make of today's prisoner swap? Israeli hostages handed over in what's being described as chaotic scenes, and then after a delay, 110 Palestinian prisoners released.
Right. So if we compare what happened today in Khan Yunis to what happened today in Jabalia, as your reporter has said, also if we compare what happened today in Jabalia compared to what happened a few days ago in Gaza, you will see that there is a progress towards greater control over the situation. I mean, yes, the resistance in Gaza has it seems to be in control of the Gaza Strip, and its fighters are in full military fatigue and all the rest. But at the end of the day, this is a place that has been shattered, if not destroyed entirely. So trying to kind of produce the perfect image and the perfect scene under these circumstances is not always guaranteed, as Khan Yunis has proved. I am certain that the next handover in the south is going to be as smooth as Jabalia was today. But again, this is something to be expected, considering the fact that this is a place that just emerged from underneath the rubble of an actual genocide.
Certainly, and the release of the Israeli soldier Agam Berger by Hamas, perceived there to be intended to be a show of strength by Hamas. What did you make of that?
Well, it seems that every time the resistance in Gaza are, kind of, they are creating this perfect political discourse. I mean, this is not about the degree of armaments or the degree of strength of Hamas and the other resistance groups per se. This is a political message to the Israelis, but more importantly to the Americans and others who have been arguing that Hamas is unfit to rule Gaza, that the resistance is not in charge, and they need some other political actor to be exported from the outside into Gaza to kind of help Gaza heal. So this is the Palestinians of Gaza's way of saying, we are in charge. We are actually able to create a scene that would show that we are paying attention to the most, the smallest details, the printing, the language, the political discourse, the slogans, the organizations, and everything else. So all of these are political messages intended for political parties in Palestine, but mostly outside Palestine.
And Ramzy, how does the unfolding of phase one of the ceasefire deal bode for future phases, do you think? Obviously, Netanyahu there describing the scenes in Khan Yunis as chaotic, as you say, political motivations on both sides. But how do you feel about the next phases and how they're going to go?
Well, if we are to look at what Israeli media itself is saying, Israelis are saying, Haronaut had an interesting article the other day saying that it would be very, very difficult for Israel to go back to a full-fledged war in Gaza because of the evidence that they have collected since then. Number one, the Israeli public is going to struggle with the idea that Netanyahu is blocking the continuation of the ceasefire, therefore keeping some Israelis in Gaza while others have been released. Also, you already have nearly 1 million Palestinians returning to the north of Gaza. Yes, most of the houses, if not all of them, have been destroyed, but they are back in Jabalia and Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia. The process of pushing them south took months and months, and Israel actually failed at completely emptying the Gaza Strip over the course of 15 months of fighting. Are you going to go back to square one and start that whole process all over again? And also, will the people of the north end up going to the south again? So from a military point of view, it is difficult to imagine that a similar type of warfare could return to Gaza at any point, whether after the first or the second phase of the ceasefire. I do believe that it seems to me that we are moving into a direction in which the ceasefire will indeed be lasting. But that doesn't mean that Netanyahu is not going to try to control whatever tools in his disposal to make things difficult for Palestinians. And he threatened. Today, he threatened the closure of the Rafah border, the Rafah crossing separating Gaza from Egypt, is going to continue if Palestinians do not control the release of hostages or captives in a more smooth manner. So he is trying to kind of look into his toolbox and see what he has. But I think ultimately he really doesn't have so many cards at this point.
Ramzy Baroud live for us there from Seattle. Really appreciate your analysis here on TRT World.